Hey everyone, and welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're zeroing in on a piece of outdoor gear that is really trying to completely rethink how we pack for a day outside. We are looking at the Ninja FrostVault 30 quart cooler. We're going to break down the manufacturer's exact engineering promises, map out all the hard specifications, and honestly, most importantly, stack those up against the reality of actual customer experiences. We really want to see if this thing truly delivers. But first, let's set the stage a little bit. Have you ever experienced that universal, totally annoying frustration of reaching into your ice chest, hoping for a nice, fresh lunch, only to pull out a soggy, waterlogged sandwich? You know the drill. The ice melts, the water rises, and suddenly your perfect beach picnic or your tailgate spread is completely ruined. It's a problem literally every camper and sports parent knows all too well, and it is exactly the pain point this specific cooler claims to eliminate forever. So, Ninja's big solution is what they call FrostVault technology. It's actually an active system where the cold from the main ice compartment up top transfers down into a completely separate dry zone drawer at the bottom. The goal here? To keep your food cool, totally dry, and under a food-safe 40 degrees Fahrenheit for days. Essentially, they want this thing to act way more like your kitchen refrigerator than a traditional ice chest. Okay, let's dive into Section 1, Meet the Ninja FrostVault inside the technology. Ninja is promising a suite of premium features here to streamline your outdoor adventures. Beyond that food-safe dry zone we just talked about, they claim premium ice retention, which is powered by up to 3 inches of heavy-duty insulation. Now, because that much insulation obviously adds a lot of bulk, they've paired it with all-terrain, puncture-resistant wheels and a reinforced telescoping handle. The vision is pretty simple. Ultimate comfort while hauling and super easy access to your food without digging around in freezing ice. But what does a 30-quart capacity actually mean when you're standing in your kitchen trying to pack it? Well, if you strictly pack beverages without a single cube of ice, you can squeeze in 48 cans. But let's be real, you're using ice. You want cold drinks. Once you account for the ice needed for that premium retention they promise, your actual working capacity drops to 28 cans. It's absolutely crucial to visualize this real-world limit before you plan your trip.
All right, moving on to Section 2, Specs and Pricing Breakdown.
The numbers here tell a pretty fascinating story. The list price sits at $279.99, though an 18% discount frequently brings it down to a very competitive $229.95. But draw your attention down to that third row, the empty weight. Before you add those 28 cans, before the ice, and before you even pack a single sandwich in the dry drawer, this cooler weighs a massive 29.3 pounds. Combined with a nearly 20 by 20 inch footprint, this is a seriously substantial piece of gear. You really need to keep that weight in mind.
Which brings us to Section 3, Real Customer Reviews, Expectation versus Reality.
When we look at the raw data, the overall consensus is, well, it's overwhelmingly positive. Across 281 global ratings, the cooler holds an impressive 4.6 out of 5-star average. A massive 78% of users give it a perfect 5 stars, with another 13% sitting at 4 stars. So clearly, the vast majority of buyers feel like this cooler absolutely delivers on its promises. But to really understand this product's true strengths and its compromises, we need to look a little closer at what those reviewers are actually saying. Without question, the absolute star of the show for consumers is the dry drawer. Digging into the review data, 22 different customers specifically praised this one feature. They noted that it acts exactly like a fridge, keeping items like sandwich meat, cheese, fruit, and condiments perfectly chilled while remaining completely dry. No clunky secondary watertight containers required. It seems Ninja's FrostVault technology truly works exactly as advertised, which is awesome. Just listen to this 5-star review because it hits the nail right on the head. Great cooler. Holds ice for 2 days with YETI ice packs. Great for softball tournaments for beverages and food in the drawer. Imagine being a parent at a weekend-long tournament out in the sun. Keeping drinks ice cold up top while preserving safe, dry food at the bottom. That is a literal game changer. However, every piece of engineering comes with a catch, right? And the narrative definitely takes a turn here. Remember that 29.3-pound empty weight we highlighted a minute ago? Well, 16 different customers explicitly brought up the weight of the cooler in their feedback. And more importantly, 12 of those 16 framed the weight as a distinctly negative aspect of their experience. To keep things totally impartial, let's look at a critical review that highlights this exact recurring complaint. This customer writes, "It was too big, too heavy, and small capacity. I had high hopes for this cooler, but right out of the box, I could see this cooler was a monster. Ouch." But, it makes perfect sense when you look at the physics of it. To get that amazing ice retention and actually power a refrigerated drawer, Ninja had to use up to 3 inches of heavy-duty insulation. That insulation eats right into the internal capacity while drastically pumping up the external footprint and the weight, making it quite a chore to haul around once it's fully loaded up. So what's the final verdict when we compare the expectation to the reality? Well, the expectation, aided by that telescoping handle and the all-terrain wheels, was easy breezy portability. The reality? While customers universally praise those wheels as being super sturdy and absolutely necessary, the cooler itself remains a heavy, bulky unit. That physical footprint is simply the definitive trade-off you have to make in exchange for exceptional ice retention and the total luxury of that dry storage drawer. Which brings us right back to the ultimate question you've got to ask yourself. Is the absolute guarantee of a perfectly dry, food-safe lunch worth the physical effort of hauling a much heavier, bulkier cooler from your car to the beach? It's a really fascinating balance between premium culinary comfort and everyday portability. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I really hope this deep dive helps you figure out if the FrostVault is the right fit for your next big outdoor adventure.